Today we're going to dive into a really powerful idea, one that connects ancient fables all the way to modern leadership. It's about redemption, sure, but it's also about effort and these invisible forces that kind of shape our lives.
It all starts with this line from Aesop. We've all heard it, right? The gods help them that help themselves. And on the surface, it sounds simple enough, Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, get to work. But that's really only half the story.
Because if you look just a little closer, you see there's a hidden partner in that phrase, the gods. See, the idea isn't that they just leave us to figure it all out on our own. They're watching and they're ready to respond, but only after we take that first step. So this isn't about going it alone. It's about meeting grace halfway.
And this idea, this partnership between our own effort and some larger responding force, it's ancient. It's universal. You can find it in Greek fables, in the letters of the Apostle Paul, and, as we'll see, even in the story of a high school basketball team from rural Indiana.
So, to make this idea feel a little more real, let's turn to the film Hoosiers. It gives us this incredibly powerful example of the whole principle in action through the character of Shooter.
So the scene is set in Hickory, Indiana. Coach Dale is the new guy in town and nobody really trusts him. And then there's Shooter. Shooter is the town drunk, an outcast who has pretty much burned every bridge he's ever had.
But what's so fascinating here is why Coach Dale does this. This isn't just some blind optimism. Seeing potential in someone who has totally lost it in themselves, well, that's a discipline. It's a skill you have to practice, looking past the surface and resisting those easy snap judgments.
And when Shooter's own son objects, saying his father doesn't deserve another chance, Coach Dale asks this just devastating question. It's not really aimed at the boy's cruelty, though. It's aimed at his fear, at that armor he's built up to protect himself from being let down one more time. For him, despair just feels safer than hope.
The point here is that this is so much more than just a feel-good story. It's actually a profound lesson in leadership about reopening channels that have been shut down for a long, long time.
General Colin Powell really nailed a fundamental truth of leadership with this. When people stop coming to you with their problems, it's not because they don't have any more problems. It's because they've lost faith that you're either willing or able to help them.
And this is exactly Shooter's situation. He had completely internalized the town's negative verdict on him. The channel for getting help was closed because he'd sealed it off himself, believing he just wasn't worth the effort anymore.
So Coach Dale's offer was way more than just a job. It was this powerful, unspoken message. It cracked open that closed channel, basically saying, hey, I haven't given up on you. And that single act created the space for change to even begin.
This brings us to a really cool metaphor from Seth Godin about how great teams actually work. He argues it's not really about control, it's about something more like gravity.
Just think about our solar system for a second. There's no cosmic CEO up there directing traffic, right? It's all held together by the invisible pull of gravity. Well, in the same way, a team or an organization, it's not a machine with an operator. It's a system held together by these intangible forces like trust, culture, and a shared purpose.
And this comparison here makes the difference really clear. Machine leadership is all about controlling and fixing. But gravity leadership, that's about attracting and holding. Coach Dale didn't try to fix Shooter like a broken part. No, he generated a gravitational field of trust and opportunity, one that was strong enough to pull Shooter back into a healthy orbit. And this leads to a pretty crucial question for any of us. What kind of gravity are you generating?
So if a leader's job is to create that gravity, what's the individual's role in all this? How do you actually help yourself when you're starting from the very bottom? Well, there's a powerful coaching principle that gives us a roadmap.
The basic idea is that you train for success, not for failure. So first, you set the bar low, at something you can genuinely achieve today. For Shooter, that just meant showing up sober. That's it. Second, you rehearse that success over and over and over. Instead of obsessing over mistakes, you just correct them and practice the right way until it's second nature. And this works because it's not just about learning a skill, it's about building a whole new identity. Each one of those small rehearsed successes literally rewires how you see yourself. You gradually become the person who shows up, who contributes, and who can be counted on.
Okay, so all of these ideas, meeting grace halfway, reopening channels, generating gravity, training for success, they're all bound together by one final, absolutely essential element: patience.
This ancient verse from Paul's letter to the Galatians just captures this tension perfectly. Our effort is essential. We absolutely cannot give up. But the timing of the reward, well, that's not up to us. We reap in due season.
And that's the real challenge, isn't it? Due season is the time it actually takes, not the time we wish it would take. And that requires this quiet, steady discipline to just keep doing the right things, even when the results are absolutely nowhere in sight.
So when you step back, you realize it's all one truth, just spoken in many different voices. Powell tells us to keep the channels open. Godin tells us to generate gravity. Paul urges us to be patient for the harvest. And Aesop reminds us that the gods move when we do. They're all describing the exact same process of patient, committed, active effort.
And this brings us right back to Hickory, Indiana. At the state championship game, standing in this massive arena, Coach Dale has his team measure the court. The basket is 10 feet high, the free throw line is 15 feet away. Everything is exactly the same as it was back home. And the message is just so clear. After all the work, all the patience, and all the gravity they had built, what they brought with them was finally enough.
And so, we end right where we began. The harvest did come. The gods did help them, but only after they put in the work, stayed the course, and refused to give up before the season turned. They had to help themselves first.
And this leaves us with a question to ask ourselves, in our teams, in our families, in our communities. It's an essential question of leadership, and really of life. What kind of gravity are you generating? What are people pulled toward when they move toward you?